A new dinosaur was just found in the Gobi Desert. A lizard species hidden for generations was finally confirmed in one of the most remote parts of Australia, and in Iran's scorching Lut Desert, a super unexpected animal comes to life after decades underground. These are bizarre creatures found in the desert that left scientists shocked. In July of 2024, paleontologists working in Mongolia's Gobi Desert announced the discovery of a brand new dinosaur called Duonychus sogbatari. This thing had massive claws, over 12 inches long, and somehow those claws still had their original keratin casing intact. That almost never happens. Usually you just get the fossilized bone, but this one had the actual outer sheath, which helped confirm just how sharp and curved they were. And even though it lived about 70 million years ago, parts of it were so well preserved that scientists could learn more about its muscles, joints, and how it moved. This was one of the most complete therizinosaur skeletons ever found in Asia. That's the family this one belongs to. The dinosaur was officially described in 2025. The team was led by Yoshisugu Kobayashi from Hokkaido University and a few paleontologists. According to them, this is one of the most complete and detailed dinosaurs of this type ever found in Asia. In June of 2024, scientists working with the indigenous Anangu people found a brand new lizard species hiding out in the desert of South Australia. It's called Leopholus apuja, and it belongs to a group of lizards known as rock skinks. But this one stood out right away because of its weird scale pattern and its DNA. The discovery was led by Jules Borkar from Monash University, and the team made it official after checking its genetics and comparing it with other species. Thing is, the indigenous people already knew about this lizard. They call it apuja, and they've known where it hangs out and what it does for generations. Without their help, the researchers probably wouldn't have even found it. This place is super remote and mostly uncharted, so the lizard had completely slipped under the radar until now. To the science community, that is. What really surprised researchers was how isolated the species is. Its genes show that it split off from other skinks a long time ago and just adapted to its own rocky little part of the desert. There's a shrimp that lives in one of the hottest places on Earth, and it only shows up when it rains. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting to see a shrimp on this list. It's called Phallocryptus fahimi, and scientists officially named it in 2017 after finding it in the Lut Desert in Iran. This desert can hit temperatures of over 150 degrees Fahrenheit on the ground, so you'd think nothing would survive there, but these shrimp don't live out in the open. They exist as eggs buried deep in the dry salt flats, and they can stay dormant for years, maybe even decades. When it rains, the eggs hatch almost instantly. Within a few days, and you've got tiny shrimp swimming around in puddles that didn't even exist a week ago. They grow up really fast, they lay more eggs, and then the puddles dry out and they vanish again. Dr. Hussein Rajay, who helped identify the species, said it was like discovering a, quote, ghost species, because people had seen them pop up before, but no one had figured out exactly what they were. They're part of a group called fairy shrimp, which live in temporary desert pools all over the world. But this one's extra weird because you're just not expecting a shrimp to live in the hottest desert on Earth, and it's just nuts how long they can stay in egg form. So back in 2014, a couple researchers were analyzing soil samples from the Rann of Kutch in western India. If you've never heard of it, it's this massive flat desert made up of salt flats that get insanely hot and dry. You wouldn't think much of anything could survive there, but when they ran the soil through DNA tests, something weird popped up: traces of giant viruses. Regular viruses are tiny and pretty simple, but these ones, like Mimi virus and Pandora virus, are so big and complex that scientists argue over whether they should even count as viruses. They've got way more genes than usual ones that can do things regular viruses can't. What threw everyone off is that these kinds of viruses had only been found in water before. Ponds, oceans, stuff like that. So finding their DNA in dry desert soil where nothing's even supposed to be alive, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. But the team didn't confirm if the viruses are actually still active or if it's just leftover DNA hanging around. Australia has this tiny blind marsupial called the southern marsupial mole that lives almost entirely underground in the desert. Doesn't have eyes or visible ears, and its fur is super smooth, which helps it glide through loose sand like a fish swimming in water. Scientists say it sort of swims through the sand by wriggling its body and digging with its front claws. These moles are incredibly rare to see. Most of what we know about them comes from ones that accidentally get dug up or turn up in predators' stomachs. They're a mystery in a lot of ways. Nobody's totally sure what they eat, but they probably feed on bugs, larvae, and other tiny critters living underground. Because these creatures spend almost all their lives underground, studying them is really tough. Lately, scientists have been using motion-triggered cameras and checking for traces of their DNA in the environment to figure out more, but they're still one of Australia's most mysterious mammals. The Thorny Devil is this little lizard that lives in the Australian outback and is completely covered in spikes from its head to its tail. The spikes make it look dangerous, but it's mostly harmless. It moves slowly, eats ants, doesn't put up much of a fight, but good luck biting into one, let alone swallowing it. Not that you want to do that anyway, just saying it is one of its defense mechanisms. One of the coolest things about it is how it drinks. It doesn't lick up water or sip from puddles. Instead, it collects moisture through tiny grooves in its skin. When there's dew or rain, the water travels across its body and straight into its mouth. It's like it has a built-in straw system. The Thorny Devil eats mostly ants and has a sticky tongue that helps slurp them up, and it'll eat thousands of them in a day. It also has this weird little fake head on the back of its neck. So when it feels threatened, it tucks its real head down and shows off the decoy to confuse predators. Not much else in the desert messes with it after that. Well, I may have just found my new favorite ant, because I'm a sucker for chrome. I mean, look at these things. They're like ants wearing knight's armor. It's called the silver ant, and it lives in the Sahara, one of the hottest places on Earth. The sand gets so hot, it can cook most insects alive, but the silver ant is built to deal with it. It only comes out during the hottest part of the day, which sounds insane, but it actually gives the ant an advantage here. Most predators are hiding from the heat, so it has the desert pretty much to itself. Its silver coating helps balance the sun's heat off its body, and its long legs keep it raised above the ground so it's not touching the hot sand. And when they come out, they scavenge. If a bug or lizard has died from the heat, silver ants race out, they grab what they can, and they rush back underground before they overheat. They're insanely fast too, running about 2 feet per second. That is pretty insane to picture, like 2 feet. What do we got there? 1 second? That's pretty crazy. This one sounds kind of made up, but the screaming hairy armadillo is 100% real. It lives in the dry grasslands and deserts of South America, mostly Argentina and Bolivia. And yes, these things actually scream. When it gets panicked, feels threatened, it lets out this loud, high-pitched screech. It kind of sounds weirdly human. Take a listen to this. So that weird scream plus its tough armor is usually enough to get it out of trouble. These armadillos are covered in soft hair underneath all that hard plating, which is where the hairy part of their name comes from. The fur helps keep it warm at night, since desert temperatures drop super fast. During the day, it burrows underground to stay cool, digging pretty fast with its front claws. It's mostly a nighttime animal, coming out to hunt bugs, worms, and plants after dark. They've been seen eating small lizards and rodents. Even with the armor, they're surprisingly quick when they want to be. Camel spiders are desert arachnids, mostly found in places like the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of the American Southwest. They're not actual spiders or scorpions. They belong to their own group called Solifuges. They have huge jaws that can be nearly as long as their body. They use them to grab, crush, and chew insects, small lizards, and even scorpions. Unlike some arachnids, camel spiders don't have venom, but their bite still hurts because of how strong their jaws are. They're famous for being fast runners. Some can sprint at up to 10 miles per hour. Most camel spiders hunt at night and hide during the day under rocks or in burrows to avoid the desert heat. These spiders are also shy. They usually avoid humans, so scientists find them tough to study. They're quick, they're nocturnal, they don't stick around in one place. But they play an important role in the desert. Like a lot of other spiders, they help control insect populations. So, as creepy as they look, camel spiders help keep things balanced. The Sandfish Lizard lives in the deserts of North Africa and the Middle East. It's about 6 to 8 inches long, with smooth, shiny scales that let it slip easily through loose sand. When the sun gets too hot, or if it senses danger, it dives straight into the sand and sort of swims under the surface by moving its body in a wave-like motion, almost like a fish in water. To keep sand out, it closes its eyes and its nostrils. While underground, it hunts insects, spiders, scorpions. It can stay buried for several minutes before coming back out again. Scientists have been fascinated by the sandfish's swimming technique because it's one of the best examples of an animal perfectly adapted to life in the desert. Actually, the way it moves inspired engineers to try creating robots that can move through sand or rubble in the same kind of way. With all that said, I've been your host, James, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.